Good afternoon. Well, it's afternoon. Let's see. Yeah, it's afternoon here on the Pacific side, so it's happy. It's afternoon across the country, I'm sure. Anyway, this is Connie Myers, and I wanted to pop on today and talk a little bit about something I saw on the Today Show this morning. One of my favorite authors is Shawn Achor. He wrote The Happiness Advantage. I think this was called Happiness, maybe Before Happiness. His recent book is The Big Potential. If you have not read it, it'll totally change your mind on, first of all, how to raise kids, and also about how to create potential in your life. So I highly recommend it. I've listened to it on Audible 3 times, and I also have just ordered it because I need to be able to underline and mark it up and do all those kinds of things because I just love everything he has to say. Well, he and his wife were on the Today Show this morning talking about happiness. And a very interesting statistic that kind of bothered me to think that here in America it's as low as it is. They did a survey and asked people whether or not they felt they were happy. And the highest score of this quiz where people were grading themselves on whether or not they were happy, unhappy, moderate to low happy, moderate to high happy. The largest percentage of Americans said, 34%, said that they were 34% moderately to low happy. Now, isn't that a scary thought? I mean, the other scores that came in the next was, I'm pretty happy and I'm a little of both, and that was 32%. And then 18% said they were moderately to high happy. And the other two numbers, being totally unhappy or totally happy, were they weren't even on the list. So what is it that, first of all, let's talk about what happiness really means. Many people think that happiness is about pleasure. And he talked about that. Well, happiness really isn't about pleasure. It's about joy. How do we bring joy into our lives? And that's really what truly makes us happy. And he talked about how, or maybe it was his wife that talked about the fact that childbirth is a perfect example of how happiness is not about pleasure. Because having a child, there's nothing pleasurable about it. But the joy that it brings is absolutely incredible. I thought that was a great way of explaining the difference. So and then a lot of people think that the opposite of happiness is unhappiness. Well, really, the opposite of happiness is apathy. So not feeling like we are noticed, or we don't feel that our opinion is worthy, or we don't feel that we can contribute anything to the world. And I'm here to tell you that that's what truly brings joy into your life, whether you're doing it as a volunteer, whether you're just helping out somebody that you know, whatever that is, that ability to bring joy into other people's lives is truly what makes happiness, and that's really what it's all about. So for the 34% that said they were moderately to low happy, what can you do? Well, they had a 1-second solution, which I loved. It's called smile. It takes 1 second to smile. And they did a study where they went into a hospital and they asked everybody to take and smile at 3 people. And the end result was that the patients felt happy in that hospital. They felt happy. And the doctors, and they felt more well cared for. And the doctors said it was the happiest they'd ever been when everybody was walking around smiling at one another. And they only had to smile at 3 people. So just think, all you have to do is to change your low to moderate happiness is do a little smiling, and it takes no effort whatsoever. So I hope I'm bringing a little happiness to you and a little joy. It's definitely bringing joy to me to do this. The other thing they talked about was when you're moderately to high and you want to be even more, have a higher rate of happiness, take 45 seconds a day. 45 seconds a day to think of 3 things you're grateful for. That's one of my kick butt leadership tools and techniques is to take a few minutes and think about 3 new things. Think about something new. It doesn't have to be anything big. Think about 3 things that you're grateful for. And that will change. It actually changed people from a low level of happiness to a high level of happiness by doing that for 21 days. And then in the area that they talked about where I'm pretty happy, they talked about passing on and doing acts of kindness. And again, it doesn't have to be anything great. But they cited research that showed that a social connection is a huge part of bringing happiness into our lives. And social connection is just you can do a small act of kindness, like smiling, like giving somebody a compliment, or, buying them their Starbucks, whatever it is, but it doesn't have to be anything big. But it also is the biggest predictor of how long we're going to live, how happy we are. It's not obesity, it's not smoking, it's not high blood pressure. It is how happy we are. And one of the things that I do for myself to keep myself happy is every day I try to do something good for somebody else. And then in my retreats, in my workshops, in my anything that I try to do, I find a way to have some kind of act of happiness. And one of those big ones is coming up on October 28th, my retreat to Mexico. So I've included a clip that talks about the Friends of Barone, and it talks about the free dental clinic, and it talks about the free medical clinic, and all this incredible work that the Friends of Barone are doing for the little village in Mexico that's right outside of Estrella del Mar where we do our retreats. And I can tell you that I think that's why people leave feeling so good, because we not only pour into them how to be happy and how to step into the life they would love and give to them, but then we turn around and we give to others and find a way to lift them and bring them joy. And I believe that's why people, when they leave, say that it's changed their lives, is because we're really uplifting everybody around us and wanting to show our love and compassion for people that have less than ours. So in this clip, I talk about the Friends of Barone. I talk about what they've done for the school of the elementary school. I talk about the medical clinics. And then they have the sponsorships of children that they do that help kids to go on to school that can't afford to go to high school. Anyway, so I hope you'll enjoy this clip. And if you are interested, we have 1 spot left from a cancellation for our retreat in October. And I normally at this point in time, the cutoff has already been done as far as the special early bird rate. But I'm honoring it for just a few more days. I think it's 4 days now I have left to honor it. And if you are interested, please reach out to me. But anyway, I think you'll enjoy this little clip about the Friends of Our Own and what the difference is that we're making. So enjoy, and I will be back probably tomorrow. I want to talk about an interview that I did with Diana Olson Watkins, and about her nonprofit called Life at the Border. So anyway, I will be posting that shortly. Anyway, take care and have a great afternoon. Bye now.